or Watertown.
Tonight, where am I? Here? Here. Tonight, new reporting at Saudi Arabia let's switch to this one, used U.S. military veterans to pump money into a Trump hotel. The Washington Post reports that lobbyists representing the government paid for an estimated 500 rooms at President Trump's D.C. hotel in the months after his election. The total bill for those trips, more than $270,000. According to the Post, the lobbyists rented the rooms ostensibly as part of a pressure campaign to overturn legislation opposed by the Saudi government. The lobbyists offered veterans a free trip to Washington if they then went to Capitol Hill lobbying against the law. Several veterans told the Post the trips featured fancy dinners in a Trump hotel dining room, an open bar that was frequently extended. One of the veterans said he was confused by the opulent nature of the trips until one of the organizers, who'd been drinking minibar champagne, mentioned a Saudi prince. I said, oh, we were just used to give Trump money. Joining me now are David Farenthold, one of the Washington Post reporters who broke the story, also an MSNBC contributor, and Jake Sullivan, former national security advisor of Vice President Joe Biden, also senior advisor to Hillary Clinton on her campaign. David, this is a shocking story. 500 rooms in a few months?
That's right. The Saudi lobbyists started reserving blocks of rooms at Trump's hotels starting in December 2016, within a month of his election. And between December 2016 and February 2017, they reserved 500 nights, so 500 rooms at Trump's hotel.
I mean, just to put that in perspective, like, that must stand out on the balance sheet of a hotel, right? Like, presumably not a lot of other people are booking 500 rooms at a time?
That's right. I mean, and especially you remember what was happening in January 2017 when 4 of these big trips happened. President Trump was being inaugurated. So that's a busy season for any high-end Washington hotel, any presidential inauguration with all the crowds that come in. But now you're talking about the inauguration of President Trump, and you're staying at President Trump's hotel that month. It's hard to imagine sort of a greater crunch at any hotel than that.
All right, one more question, then I want to get your reaction to this, Jake. You suggest in the story, of reading between the lines, it looks like maybe the lobbying effort was cover. Like, they're lobbying on a bill, on this 9/11 bill, about whether they can sue the Saudis, that everyone had made up about. It didn't seem to be particularly effective lobbying. They're using these veterans. Like, was it actually a lobbying campaign?
Well, one of the things that the veterans said, as you suggested, was they just didn't feel like they felt like there was a lot of energy and time spent into giving them a really nice time at the Trump hotel. But when they went to the Capitol Hill to actually do what they were supposed to do, lobby, they weren't given very much material to describe. They weren't prepared very well for meetings with legislators. And they were sent, as you said, again and again and again, back to Washington at a time when everyone was paying attention to the new president and not really focused on this law. And they sent them back again and again to legislators who had clearly already made up their mind. They would go back 4 times or 5 times to somebody who was a no on try number 1.
Jake, what is your reaction to hearing this?
Well, the timing on this is really important. This is right after Donald Trump is coming into the White House, which means that basically even before he got elected, the memo went out to autocrats across the world, which was basically, if you're prepared to pay the Trump organization, Trump hotels, the Trump family, help them out in some way, they'll do right by you. And in your first segment, you heard about how that logic played out with the Russians. Now you're seeing how it's playing out with the Saudis. And as we speak here tonight, the Trump administration is protecting the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia against the American intelligence community. And it's gone out to other people, too, to the Chinese giving trademarks to Ivanka Trump, to other dictators trying to pitch Trump hotel business in their countries. And what it basically says is that Donald Trump has put his family business ahead of the nation's business. And for the American people, that basically means their national security is being put up to the highest bidder.
Are you worried about the degree he's compromised by these business interests and whether he knows all this, whether it's getting reported up to him?
Look, I think Donald Trump actually has a very simple worldview, which is you do right by me, I do right by you. And the problem with that worldview is America's national security fit into it.
Right.
That's an afterthought. That's kind of a second-tier consideration for him. He likes MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. He likes Vladimir Putin. He likes anyone who will come either say nice things about him or do right by him and his business. And so from a foreign policy perspective, it's a bit baffling to even opine on this because it's so out of step with any president that we've had in recent memory that you have a guy sitting in the Oval Office who basically views the job as an opportunity for him to get ahead and his family to get ahead, even if it comes at the expense of what makes sense for the United States.
David, this is the second story you've written about the Saudis pouring money into Trump hotels. The first was in New York around when Mohammed bin Salman was visiting. In both these cases, how did you find this out? Because it makes me wonder, like, how much else is there like this?
That's a really good question to ask. So we've actually found big Saudi expenditures at 3 Trump hotels. The one in New York, where you said travelers accompanying Mohammed bin Salman, just one stay by Saudi travelers was enough to put that hotel, the Trump hotel in New York, in the black for the whole quarter, the first quarter of 2018. There's this example, and then Trump's hotel in Chicago has also reported an uptick in Saudi customers since Trump won elections. All those things came from reporting, talking to investors, talking to veterans who are involved in these things. It's not something that the Trump organization or the Trump administration has put out. There's a huge amount that we don't know and would like to know about what other foreign governments are using Trump businesses, and we just don't know about them yet.
Jake, what strikes me as a notable detail here is that it's an American lobbying firm that's actually making the purchases, and that, again, you know, the White House said we're going to give away the foreign profits from Trump hotels, and he writes a big novelty check once a quarter, but who knows what businesses are functioning as cutouts for foreign entities?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we probably just scratched the surface of the totality of the ways in which foreign governments are now trying to essentially buy favor from the Trump administration. I mean, what's clear about this case that David just reported on is this book was, you know, the playbook was written and distributed around the world from the moment Donald Trump has been in the White House.
Yeah.
And that means that autocrats and dictators in every corner of the world who've said, look, I got to get something out of the United States right now, knows. You go to an American lobbyist, you go to a Trump family member, you go to a Trump hotel, and slowly but surely you can make some small investments that'll pay off for you down the road. And Trump has been pretty predictable in backing up essentially anyone who has done right by the Trump business. And, you know, from the perspective, again, of American foreign policy and U.S. national security, it's almost difficult to wrap your mind around this. Like, this is the kind of petty tin pot dictator stuff you expect from a former Soviet republic. It's not what you expect from the president of the United States.
All right, David Fahrenthold and Jake Sullivan, thank you both. There's more breaking news tonight out of North Carolina. Republicans suspected of being involved with election fraud are now being served subpoenas. The reporter that's been on the ground covering this unbelievable story joins me next.